Go ahead and call this meeting of the Maricopa County Board of Adjustment to order. Rosalie, if you'd go ahead with the roll call.
Chairman Loper,
Present.
Vice Chairperson,
Present.
Member Cardin, Member Clapp,
Here.
Member Ward. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you. And I have to apologize in advance. My allergies are especially bothersome today, so I sound even more nasally than normal. But it's also affecting my vision. So the glasses aren't even helping for up close in the distance. I've already misnamed a bunch of people that I've known for years, so bear with me. I'll move forward with the announcements, which I believe are the next thing on the agenda. 1, this meeting has been noticed in accordance with the open meeting laws of ARS 38-431. B, agendas are available within 24 hours of each meeting in the Maricopa County Planning and Development Office and are also available on the Planning and Development website 1 week prior to the hearing at www.maricopa.gov/planning. With respect to the hearing process, cases will be considered in the order they appear on the agenda unless otherwise agreed to by the board. For each case, the applicant will be given a set amount of time to present their testimony. Any witness wishing to give testimony in a particular case shall notify the board of such interest. This shall be done by filling out a speaker's card for in-person attendance or registering a desire to comment as noted on the published agenda. Also, at the appropriate time for each case, the chair will ask those attending in person and online who wish to speak to a case to raise their hand by clicking on that icon on the webinar screen. Staff will provide the chair with the names of persons who have registered and noted a desire to comment, and those registered participants who have raised their hand. The chair will call on each named participant one at a time. Number 9, such testimony should be limited to a maximum of 3 minutes. However, the actual amount of time allowed for testimony should be at the discretion of the board chair. The chair will conduct the hybrid in-person and virtual public hearing according to the bylaws and according to the rules established by the chair regarding public comment. Votes will be done by roll call vote only. And N, the chair will verbally identify the specific members responsible for all motions and seconds. And I do want to note that we have a lengthy agenda today. In the interest of time, I'm going to ask applicants to keep their presentations to 3 minutes. And I'm going to ask staff, where possible, to combine multiple items into one presentation where appropriate and where legal counsel says that's appropriate as well. Move on to the next part of the agenda, which is withdrawn items. Darren?
Mr. Chairman, commissioners, and thank you. I am Darren. I know you've been having trouble this morning. TU 25-0011, temporary underage occupancy in District 4 has been withdrawn. There's no action necessary from the board.
Thank you very much. And again, if you're here for that item in Sun City, that has been withdrawn. No actions being taken on it. Next item, code compliance review. Chip?
Good morning, Chairman Loper, members of the board. This is case V2023022237 in Supervisor District 4. This is an appeal of a hearing officer's order of judgment for an unaddressed parcel in the Whitman area. The complaint was for occupied RVs and no established primary use. This case came to us back in October of 2023 due to citizen complaints regarding an occupied RV in a rural residential area. Staff conducted an inspection in November of that year, November 16th, verified that the violation was occurring on site. Staff noted at the time there were 3 travel trailers, portable restrooms, several trash cans on site. Staff's research found no active permits for anything on site, and a notice in order to comply was sent out via USPS November 17th of 2023. So staff gave a lengthy period of time here because this is actually located in the Luke overflight area, so a different type of entitlement process would be required for this site. Staff conducted a follow-up inspection. Time had expired on December 9th of last year, found no change in the condition of the property, and a summons was sent via certified mail and posted on the site for a hearing to occur on January 9th of this year. The hearing was held on January 9th. The hearing officer found the respondents to be responsible for the violation. The hearing officer imposed an initial noncompliance fine and a daily fine. The daily fine would begin to accrue October 14th of 2025 if the property is not brought into compliance by October 13th of this year. And no fine amount's been paid to date. The respondents later appealed for code enforcement review. And this case was originally scheduled to go in March, but we had an issue with some contact there. So we wanted to make sure it was the respondent was notified of the hearing date. We have been in touch with them. And so it was moved to today's date. Staff's review of this found no particular procedural errors or anything that would cause this to be given back to the hearing officer for appeal. The site was posted properly, notice was sent properly, and that's all I have at this time. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Chip. Are there any questions of staff at this time by any of the board members? All right, seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing. Is the respondent, Deborah Carter, in attendance or on? She is. If you could come up to the podium and just provide your name for the record and respond to the complaint, please, and explain why you believe there may be a procedural error. Just real quick, as Chip may have said, we can't respond to the merits of the complaint itself, only the procedure part of it. I apologize, that's not in our purview.
Okay. My name is Deborah K. Carter, and I own the property at 222XX Buckhorn Trail. And my problem with this, one, I never received a notice or anything about the property on 2024, this last complaint. And there has not been anybody living in those trailers or that trailer for over a year. We simply, yes, at one time I had no other option. And I did put my son there for a few months till he got another job, at which time he moved out, and there's never been anyone there since. I'm not trying to disobey the law. I had no option, or I wouldn't be living in my sister's 12 by 12 bedroom. I guess the biggest thing is I did not receive notice, certified or otherwise, about the hearing that just happened.
A couple of comments. So I see, looks like 3 RVs. So again, we can't speak to the merits of the case, but I do have a question regarding that. So none of those are hooked to utilities. There's no water hookups, no disposal hookups, no electric hookups.
No, sir.
I would encourage you to work with staff on that because I see the slide out open on the one.
That is a trailer, and it's being used currently as a storage, because I moved out of a 3,500 square foot home due to financial reasons.
Okay.
And I had to have a place to put some of my personal stuff, so I put it in the trailer.
But you are alleging you never received notice of the complaints. Chip, do you have a record of a received certified mail?
That I do not. I do have the picture of the posting on site that was done on December 9th of last year, which is part of your packet.
Did she attend the hearing? Do you know?
She did not.
She did not.
Mr. Chairman, we're willing to coordinate with her to provide summons for a new hearing to be scheduled. We would ask on the record that we be able to coordinate an on-site inspection with her to explain what needs to be done for permitting of facilities. It's important to understand that no residential buildings may be permitted for occupancy inside the high noise and access potential zone. That is per state law. The county actually had litigation with the state over that matter, and the Attorney General's office signed off on this new ordinance we have that does not allow for rezoning, and per a memorandum of understanding, does not allow for any residential. She will not be able to get permitted any RV for occupancy or single family residence or a mobile home or anything on that property.
So not only is it that she doesn't have a principal residential use, that she could, outside of that, use this while it was under construction, it's that she can't have it anyway because of the overflight,
That is
the
correct.
Luke overflight or the ox zone.
And-
Ma'am,
and-
do you understand that?
So they're saying, I'm not going to live in it, and I understand that rule now, and I will not be living out there. But I cannot store the trailer there?
I think what Darren is suggesting is that you have an on-site inspection with him or Chip or one of their designees, one of the ones that I'll probably screw the name up on, but that they meet you on site to go over what your options are.
That would be more than fair.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, if you're interested in continuing this matter
Indefinitely?
definitely,
Okay.
I mean, I'm
We'll
willing to
coordinate
buy
before
a
she leaves.
permit if I need a permit to park my own stuff, which that I don't understand, but
I don't know if that's the remedy or not, but I would move, this is in District 4, I would move that we continue, hang on, V2023-02237 indefinitely.
Second.
We have a second by Member Clapp. Rosalie, if you would please take roll call vote.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
We lost her again.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for a continuance by
Wish
a
you the best
vote
of
of 3
luck
to 0.
getting this resolved.
thank you very much, sir. Do I set up the appointment with him?
he'll come talk to you in the back.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chip.
Darren.
All right, move on to the regular agenda. Item 3, which is 3 separate cases, TU 25-0002, BA 25-0024, and TU 25-0009. These are all in District 2 for the Stapley property. And what I was suggesting earlier, and I'll defer to council, is the ability to discuss all 3 at the same time. Would they have to be separate motions though, correct?
Yeah, you can discuss all 3 at the same time if they're relating to the same property, but vote independently on each item.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Darren and
Okay.
Martin.
Good
Sorry.
morning, members of the board and Chairman Loper. And just to kind of remind everyone, the last case was actually TU 25-0019 for the Stapley property. All right, so anyway, this presentation to discuss the following cases: TU 25-002, BA 25-0024, and TU 25-0019, Stapley property. The first request is for an interpretation of what is the meaning of temporary housing. The second request is a temporary use permit for temporary housing while a single family residence is being constructed. That's case TU 25-0002. The third request is for a variance to reduce the required front yard in the R135 zoning district from the required 40 feet to 0 feet for structures placed along the street, and that's BA 25-0024. And the final request is for a temporary use permit for a construction yard for the structures that house an RV that's being used as temporary housing. That's TU 25-0019. Staff are going to start off with the interpretation portion of this presentation. Next slide, please. Staff interprets the meaning of temporary housing as found in Article 1302.2.1 of the Zoning Ordinance to mean a unit of temporary housing during the construction of a permanent residence. It does not include shade canopies or other items. The applicant wants the meaning to include shade canopies and other accessory items. The applicant proposes an RV as a temporary residence, which is to be shaded by a large shade canopy that will be supported by storage 3 shipping containers. It's staff's opinion that the temporary housing category for a TUP is related only to temporary housing unit and not for any other items. The shade and storage containers seem more appropriately to be included under a temporary construction complex category TUP. Next slide, please. The property is requesting a TUP to allow temporary housing while the primary dwelling unit is being built. Next slide, please. The subject's site is located at 10579 East McClellan Road in the Mesa area. The property owners have an issued permit for a single family residence and is currently being built. The shade is under construction. Recently, the property owners placed 3 shipping containers with an attached shade structure without permits to cover their RV within the lot's required front yard. After TUP review, staff advised the owners the structures must be moved out of the required front yard. The property owners stated that moving the structures would be costly. Nevertheless, there are other locations on the lot where the structures could be placed outside the required front yard, and buildings, including accessory structures, are prohibited within the required front yard. Next slide, please. The property owner argues that the structures are part of the request for temporary housing and requests that they be included within the TUP case to be determined by the Board of Adjustment rather than moving the structures. Staff supports temporary residences in an RV with a TU 25002, and the shipping containers and shade structures built around the RV cannot be part of the temporary housing request. Staff is in the opinion that the applicant has satisfied the requirements of Article 1302.1 of the ordinance regarding the temporary housing, but has not satisfied the requirements of Article 1106.2 of the ordinance regarding detached structures. As such, staff recommends approval of the TUP for temporary housing and have the property owners move the unpermitted shade structures with storage containers within 180 days unless they receive the benefit of a separately approved variance, BA 250024, for locations within the required front yard, as well as an issued permit for the structures. Next slide, please. It would be up to the board to make the determination what constitutes a TUP for temporary housing, and if this type of TUP can include additional structures for sheltering a temporary housing inside a required front yard. If the interpretation by the board is that the structures sheltering the temporary housing are part of this TUP request, then it will be up to the board to determine if this TUP request can reduce the required front yard permanently to 0 feet on the lot, or just have the structures housing the RVP part of the temporary use to be removed once the TUP expires. Staff recommends if the board determines that this TUP request can be included in a request to vary the required front yard of the lot, then staff offers variance case BA 250024 to reduce the front yard setback to 0 feet and TU 250019 for temporary construction yard. Staff recommends the board a motion for denial of the applicant's interpretation request for temporary housing to include shades, canopies, and other accessory items. Regarding the interpretation, staff recommends the board uphold the staff's determination. If the board ruled in staff's favor regarding the interpretation, then for the reasons outlined in the report, staff must recommend to the board a motion to approve TU 250002 for the TUP for temporary housing, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. Staff recommends the board a motion of denial of the variance request to reduce the required setback to 0 feet. And if the board makes findings that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated the findings of record, then the grant of the variance will memorialize a variance approval establishing 0 foot north setback line on the property. Staff recommends that the board a motion for denial of TU 250019 for the temporary construction yard within the front yard setback. If the board motions to approve the variance to reduce the front yard setback to 0 feet with the variance request and interprets the temporary housing does not include the temporary construction yard, then staff recommends the board a motion to approve the temporary construction yard TU 250019, subject to the conditions listed in the staff report. This concludes staff's presentation of these cases, and thank you very much, members of the board.
Thank you, Martin. That was a very thorough overview of this project.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions. There's a lot to unpack here. So The temporary housing, I think to me is fairly simple. It's the RV.
Correct.
A question with that is, does temporary housing have to be outside of the setback? Or can it be generally anywhere on the property?
Mr. Chairman, it can be generally anywhere on the property if you determine that appropriate.
Can the temporary construction yard, does it have to be outside of the setback area?
Mr. Chairman, there may be difference of opinion here, but in general, no, because this is tied to the valid permit and it's part of the construction project if it gets approved as a temporary use permit.
Okay, because
I'm sorry, the question is it cannot remain once the permit is completed. It must be removed.
right. Because I like what they did, me personally, for that shade structure. But again, me personally, they'd have a hard time convincing me it's part of the temporary housing. Okay, does any other board member have any questions at this time? All right, seeing none, I'm going to open the public hearing. The applicant's Brent Stapley. Brent, are you or your representative in attendance? If you could come up, please, and provide your name for the record and go forward with your presentation of your requests.
Thank you. My name is Brent Stapley, and my wife is here with me. We bought a property at 10579 East McClellan. We acquired that property in November of 2023, and through the permitting process, we finally were able to start construction October 30th, 2024. We moved the structure there because of the situation that we were in. We figured that we would be best served building the home with our temporary residents there on site. And it has been not opposed, as you can see, during the 10-day period. In fact, our neighbors are happy that we're there. We haven't had any opposition. They're happy to see a beautiful home being built, a permanent home as well. We are, just to cut through all the information that I wanted to bring up, because Mr. Martell brought everything to light and has been willing to work with us. I think we would request a variance for 180 days while we're finishing the home. And then once we get finished, we're taking all that down, selling it all. And it's right where the driveway is. You'll see that on the site plan. And so I can't really get a final on the home until that's gone and my driveway concrete is poured. So we're asking for whatever we need to do so that we can keep it there and stay there for at least 180 days, or get a construction yard. I don't know what the rules are. The permitting process was quite extensive for us. We haven't built a home in Mesa for over 30 years, and then it was pretty easy. Now it's not easy. But with that, that's what our request is. If we have to apply for a construction yard temporary use permit, we can do that if that's what is required. And if the funds that we've paid for the temporary use permit for the single RV can be applied to that, that would be great too. And if you have any questions for me, I'm happy to answer those.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the applicant from any of the board members at this time?
I have
Seeing
none.
Oh, go ahead, Member Ward.
I'm sorry, I said I have none.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Sorry.
My only comment to the applicant is that it'll be much tougher in 30 years from now. I can assure you of that.
I have a question.
Oh, go ahead, Member Clapp.
Yeah, just to clarify the variance for the front setback to 0, is that tied to the yard storage area? Is that what that's about?
Mr. Chairman and Member Clapp, and I apologize that we don't have a whiteboard and for creating a confusing matter. The issue is if you support what they are proposing as a whole, then staff would, then the action you should take is to approve TU 250002 per paragraph 21, and then approve TU 250019 per paragraph 25, which will supersede certain conditions of the other temporary use permit. And that will allow them to keep the shade structure and the storage containers in place at their current location for a 2-year period, as long as the permit for the residents remains valid. And after that period, those structures have to be removed.
Okay, another question. Then the staff report mentioned that the approval should only be for 180 days, and now you're mentioning 2 years. Which is it?
The 180 days is how long a structure can be placed on a property without a building permit. Now, if we do this, it would, if you do incorporate it, it'd be for the whole 2 years for the construction yard, and it would also include the temporary housing.
And to approve the temporary construction yard, the TU 250019, does that not require an application for that? Because he mentioned that he would be happy to apply for it.
We, Mr. Chairman, Member Clapp, he hasn't applied for anything other than the temporary use permit. It was his contention that temporary use permit for the temporary residence included all that.
Yeah, I got
We've
that.
tried to separate this out, San's application, just to give them an option and able to process them timely. If you, and to reiterate, if the discussion among the board is that what he's wanting to do in its entirety is appropriate, then the action would be to approve TU 25002 per paragraph 21, disregard the variance, and then approve TU 250019 subject to the conditions in paragraph 25, which supersedes certain conditions of the other temporary use permit.
Okay.
If I could
That
add
is
one more
not what
thing.
your discussion leads to. If you think it's not appropriate in its entirety, we can try and clear that up at that time.
Well, this is in my district, but I would like to hear what others want to say about it.
Absolutely. And it is a public hearing. Thank you very much, Mr. Stapley. If there's any questions, we'll call you back up. Do we have anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak? Does your wife want to speak? You drove all this way, you might as well. If you could just give us your name for the record,
I'm
please.
Julie Stapley, wife to Brent Stapley. This is our property. As hot as the summer is, that shade structure would be nice for a variance of a little bit longer. But it's all coming down as soon as our home's built, which it's on its way. So that's all.
And it would be a financial hardship on us if we had to move it. And this spot on the lot was the most sensible place to put it. The east side of the lot is basically a drainage and we couldn't put it there. We're close to the road, easy access. We have dust control.
But it is set back 30 feet from
Behind our roadway
yeah.
easement.
So it's not in the way of, anyway,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Do we have anyone online, Nadia or David?
There's no one online.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn it over to the board for discussion and or a motion. This is in District 2. Member Clapp, that's your district. If you want to entertain a motion.
I'd like to hear if anyone else has any comments.
My only comment is I support what Darren was just talking about. They did do a great job with the structure, and I understand it's an out-of-the-box process to make it all happen. I agree with staff's interpretation of what constitutes temporary housing. It's as the ordinance already says, as Martin very well stated. I support the TU 250002, and I support the temporary construction yard under TU 250019. I support the related variance if needed, but it sounds like we don't need it. Is that correct? See Darren doing a nod. I basically support what they said. However, that has to go in a motion, however you'd like to do it. But I support the end result of what we see in the picture.
Okay, I think I'm clear on what we're doing now.
But that's me.
Yeah, and I don't know if any of the other two want to say anything. Nope. Okay. You
Nodding heads.
said, Darren, that if we approve TU 25002 with the intention of approve, because we're doing this separately, right?
Yes.
Okay. If we approve that and we're intending to approve the temporary construction yard, then we don't talk about the conditions in the variance, correct? Is that what you said?
My understanding is you want to approve TU 25-0002, subject to the conditions A through I outlined in paragraph 21, not consider the variance, and then approve the temporary use permit construction yard TU 25-0019, subject to conditions A through I in paragraph 25. And just to note that those conditions supersede certain conditions in the other temporary use permit.
And as I asked before, didn't those conditions say that you had 180 days, not 2 years?
No,
They didn't?
no. It did say you have to remove the temporary housing, temporary use permit. If that gets approved by itself, they have to remove the shipping containers and the shade canopy.
Within 180 days.
Well, they have to be, it has to be removed. I don't see that we indicated a time frame.
That was kind of
That
where
would probably be a
I found it a
code.
little confusing in reading it about, because I know temporary use permits are usually for temporary housing 2 years. But 2 years is what we're, okay. All right, then I make a motion to approve TU 250002, temporary housing for 2 years, and the conditions set forth in the report.
We have a motion by member Clapp. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by member Ward. Rosalie?
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Congratulations on that. We will skip BA 250024 for a moment and proceed to TU 250019 to the board for discussion and or a possible motion.
I'll make a motion to approve TU 250019, temporary construction yard, subject to any conditions that are in the report.
We have a motion for approval by member Clapp. Do we have a second?
Second. Second.
Oh, member Ward just barely beat you, member Person. We have a second by member Ward. Rosalie?
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
And then we'll move on to the third item, which is BA 250024. And just to confirm again, we want this one denied. And then because the construction yard covers the placement as it is today. They have to apply still for that, but
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm also comfortable with you just considering this case withdrawn.
okay. Okay.
That's what I would recommend.
That
is just
works.
Withdraw the second item.
That works for me. And the applicant understands that they left. Oh, you're good with that? I can't see you, but I'll take that as a good. Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to the next item on the agenda. BA 250005, the Hewitt property in District 2. This one is Nick.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Loper, members of the board. Case BA 250005 is a request to establish a south setback of 0 feet as measured from the right-of-way preservation line on the Hewitt property, where 40 feet is the minimum required in the rural 43 zoning district. A single-family residence was developed on site in 2008. Now the owner is proposing to build an array of solar panels for on-site power generation. This parcel notably has street frontage along 3 of its 4 lot lines. Montgomery Road to the south and Rancho Tierra Drive to the north form the 2 fronts, whereas 176th Street to the east forms the street side. The parcel is therefore both a through lot and a corner lot. Montgomery Road is aligned along a midsection line, which corresponds with the south lot line. The MCZO requires preservation of 40 feet for future right-of-way unless otherwise waived or reduced by McDOT. This means that normally the required 40-foot front yard setback would need to be measured in addition to the 40 feet of preservation for a total de facto setback of 80 feet from the south lot line. The existing residence was built to the setback. However, McDOT has since reduced the required preservation to 25 feet, bringing the de facto setback down to 65 feet. The requested variance, if granted, would reduce the de facto setback to 25 feet as measured from the south lot line. Based upon what the applicant has submitted together with the analysis in the staff report, staff offers the following observations. On one hand, the natural conditions of the property create challenges for further development. These conditions include variable terrain, which generally slopes gently downward toward the Verde River, the 100-year flood zone, which impacts the north half of the property, as well as natural drainage in the southeastern quadrant of the site, and the proliferation of native desert scrub and saguaro cacti. The required 25 feet of right-of-way preservation also impacts development. Incidentally, the portion of the property where slopes are gentlest and vegetation density is lowest appears to correspond with the current front yard setback, hence the applicant's request for a variance. On the other hand, the existing residents demonstrate that development of a primary use on the property was feasible to begin with, thereby fulfilling the general intent and purpose of the Rural 43 zoning district, and by extension, the MCZO. If the board finds the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Item A, variance approval establishes a 25-foot south setback for APN 21942-108D. This includes 25 feet of future right-of-way preservation and a 0-foot front yard setback from the ultimate street line. As always, at this time, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Nick. Are there any questions of staff from any of the board members? Seeing none, thank you again. Go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant's representative here? If you could come up to the podium and provide your name for the record, please.
Good morning, board, chairman and members of the board. My name is Jeffrey Hewitt.
Is that microphone on, or could you make sure you speak into it?
I'll lean over a little bit more. How about that?
Yeah.
Is that better? I'm the owner of 17526 East Montgomery Road.
Could you give your name again, please? Sorry.
Jeffrey Hewitt.
Thank you.
We're respectfully requesting a variance to reduce the south setback to 0 feet for installation of a ground-mounted solar system, as Nick described. Our property is uniquely affected by the 2 factors that were described, the 25-foot setback on the south side and the very large wash and floodplain zone on the north side of the lot. We are committed to many of the issues addressed in RU43 intent. So we would like to preserve as much of the open terrain of the lot that is available to us. Also the native vegetation and the drainage on the lot as it exists right now. If the south side of the lot is the most feasible portion of the lot available to us for the installation of the solar system, other areas are either would require significant terraforming, or because of the characteristics of the lot and the house become prohibitively expensive to actually run the wire to our electrical feed. While the cost is not normally a factor in this, the preservation of the land, the nature of the neighborhood, and the placement of the system also reduces the amount of impact on our neighbors. It's really the most unobtrusive portion of our lot as well. So for those particular reasons, we would like to respectfully request the approval of the variance and to support the intent and I guess the goals of renewable energy production and also for really just fitting within the contours and the application of the lot structure itself.
All right, thank you. Anything else you'd like to add?
I don't think so. It was very, very inarticulate in that, and I apologize, but basically we'd like to keep the lot as intact as possible. The south side prevents the most reasonable point to do that. The desert's great out there. We adjoin the Tonto National Forest. We'd like to do as little as we could possibly do to the lot to maintain the natural vegetation that's there and the natural layout.
Thank you, and you did a great job. Are there any questions of the applicant by any of the board members? All right, seeing none, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on this item in the audience? Do we have anyone online, Nadia or David?
No one. We're not aware of anyone.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and turn this back to the board for discussion and or a motion. I do happen to believe just personally that this is a hardship with all these frontages and the terrain, but that is me. This is in District 2. It's in your district, member Clapp.
I agree with your comment. I think there are some peculiar conditions on this property and do want to support the concept of using solar where possible. I think the report said that you could not put it on your house. It had to go out in the yard, because that was the first thing that went through my mind is why isn't it going on the house? But I think you're very clear as to what your goals are here. So I would move to approve BA 250005.
Thank you. We have a motion for approval by member Clapp. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second by member Ward. Rosalie?
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Congratulations. Next item on the agenda is BA 250006, Black Canyon Highway billboard variance in District 4. And this is for Joel, who I misidentified as Andrew earlier and then got so flustered I forgot who Joel was. But very public apology for that.
I accept your apology, Chairman Loper.
I still really can't see you, but go ahead.
Chairman Loper, members of the board. Agenda item 5 is for case BA 250006. This is a variance for the Black Canyon Highway billboard located west of I-17 and north of Anthem in District 3 within the Daisy Mountain New River area plan. Next slide. The subject parcel zone C3 CUPD and is located within a 3-parcel county island surrounded by the city of Phoenix. The existing V-shaped billboard was originally permitted in 2013 at its maximum allowable size and height of the time at 300 square foot sign face and 30-foot height. As permitted, the billboard is not oriented to traffic on I-17. Rather, it is oriented towards traffic on Black Canyon Highway. The Board of Supervisors subsequently approved the Daisy Mountain New River area plan in 2019, which includes a goal that discourages off-site billboards. This was formalized in the zoning ordinance in 2021 upon the passing of the billboard text amendment, which prohibits billboards in scenic corridors. This makes the subject billboard, legally non-conforming. Next slide. Until 2024, although ostensibly oriented towards Black Canyon Highway, traffic from I-17 could still view the board from both the north and southbound lanes. This changed upon the building of a sound barrier by ADOT, which made the billboard practically invisible from freeway traffic. The goal of this request is to raise the billboard sign face to 672 square feet and its total height to 70 feet to once again make the billboard visible to traffic on I-17. Next slide. Staff believes that billboards, regardless of whether they're new or existing, should not be granted entitlement to increase beyond what is allowed under the ordinance. The current billboard would be unable to be permitted in its location. With that said, it fulfills its intent as it was originally permitted, which is to be seen from Black Canyon Highway. Staff would additionally note the applicant could see a special use permit for relocation of this billboard outside of the scenic corridor, and staff would be happy to work with the applicant on that process. Next slide. Staff would therefore offer the following conclusions. The construction of the noise barrier is not a peculiar condition because the billboard is not intended for traffic from I-17 and it's perfectly visible from Black Canyon Highway. Staff does not believe expansion of a legally non-conforming billboard is appropriate in a scenic corridor. And finally, the applicant may seek legislative entitlement through a special use permit if the board today denies this request. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joel. Great overview. I do have a question. I-7 lived here all my life. Black Canyon Highway, I-17, I've always thought were one and the same. But I know what I-17 is, but Black Canyon Highway, that's the frontage road?
Correct. So if you look at an aerial view of the map, so Black Canyon Highway is directly west of I-17, so it's serving as a frontage road in this instance.
Okay. And so the applicant's saying that when this was approved, it was meant to be seen only really from the frontage road, even though it could be seen from I-17. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, guys.
I'm sorry, we're having an internal discussion.
Yeah, go right ahead.
Sorry, we're discussing kind of where exactly the Black Canyon Highway is. So it's that if you look at I-17, the two lanes on the east portion of this map, on the one on the right, Black Canyon Highway is the road that runs north-south directly west of what would be, I think, the southbound lane.
Okay. Yeah, truly, I thought it was one and the same, and that was just a frontage road.
So for addressing purposes, we've named Black Canyon Highway the frontage road Black Canyon Highway.
Okay. So when the billboard was first put up, it could be seen from the freeway, but for all intents and purposes, it was defined as just being seen from the frontage road or Black Canyon Highway. And now that the sound wall's gone up that separates the freeway from the frontage road, that's the reason for the request. And while I get that, that's why staff's saying, nope, it was only ever meant to be seen from the frontage road, and therefore it shouldn't be allowed. But there is a process, the special use permit, whereby they could apply to relocate it and they wouldn't need the height, or explain how the special use permit might be able to get them some relief.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, for those online, this is Darren. By way of background, just to make sure you understand what Joel had indicated in the staff report, the ordinance prior to 2021, I believe, required a 1,000-foot separation between billboards located along the same street or oriented to the same street. There was already billboards within 1,000 feet of this location, but those billboards were indicated as oriented to I-17. This billboard got permitted with the understanding that it was oriented to the frontage road. And there was no request for increased height or size at that time because it was for this local, an arterial collector type street rather than the freeway. And that allowed it to be closer than 500 feet to billboards on other sides, essentially along the same alignment but oriented to different streets. That's why the permit at that time made a big deal about it was oriented and addressed off Black Canyon. It wasn't oriented I-17. And then in 2021, circa 2021, we altered our ordinance. We amended the zoning ordinance. We no longer have a separation based on street orientation. It's now just 1,000-foot radial separation, regardless of what street you're on. And that, at the time, that prevented the clustering of billboards such as in North Tempe, where some are on Gilbert Drive, some are to Loop 202, some are to Scottsdale Road, but there's like 5 all within 1,000-foot length. The idea is you have to be 1,000 foot apart regardless of what you're oriented to, unless you're across a freeway. And that may address some of those previous separation issues here. But that's the current ordinance. Current ordinance also prohibits billboards in scenic corridors, whether they be regulatory or guidelines. It's actually called out in the ordinance under the definition of freeways and billboards and scenic corridors. So a billboard would not be permitted at this location. A new billboard would not be permitted at this location today. The ordinance does have an allowance via special use permit for alterations to legal nonconforming billboards that were made legal nonconforming by that text amendment. The zoning ordinance also has, and this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with this particular site, but it could be used to relocate a billboard anywhere in the county on any zoning district due to a highway widening project. And I think it's fair to consider this highway widening project that erected a sound barrier to fall under that category. That's a separate issue for the property owner, tower, structure owner to consider, depending on what happens here today. Did I answer your question, or did I just confuse you more?
No, I think you did. And I'm interested in Mr. Allison's presentation, but no, probably we'll expand on that a little bit more. Go ahead and open the public hearing. And Mr. Allison, if you give your name, please, for the record, and go forward with your presentation.
Mr. Chair and members, for the record, Bill Allison with Umore Spa, 2525 East Arizona Biltmore Circle, here on behalf of M&J Group LLC, the property owner, and Lamar Advertising. We got a little bit to unpack here. I will do my best to sprint through this within 3 minutes. And I do have a presentation, if you could pull that up to the screen, please. Okay, as you know, we are talking about a billboard which is on I-17 in the Anthem area just south of Circle Mountain Road. This is a billboard which is about 111, 112 feet from the southbound travel lanes of I-17. To give you a little context of this area, this is what you have along the stretch of I-17. There are 3 billboards on the east side of I-17. Those are within the city of Phoenix. And there are 3 billboards on the west side of I-17, including the subject board and Maricopa County. This board was approved, as staff stated, following an amendment to a plan of development, a CUPD, in December of 2013. At that point, the zoning ordinance allowed billboards in the zoning district at 30 feet and 300 square feet, regardless of whether there's a freeway next door. The size was what the size was. And the billboard became legal nonconforming after the amendment of the ordinance in 2021. It's a little bit of a stretch and a little bit disingenuous to suggest that this billboard was not intended to face or be seen from I-17, that in fact it was oriented to the Black Canyon Highway. Here are some the comments that were in the staff recommendation at that time, was that it met all of the zoning district regulations, that it didn't conflict with allowed use, and that nobody had any objections to it. And the narrative report that was submitted to staff, it clearly states that this sign was targeting traffic on I-17. This is not about a sign oriented to a frontage road. In addition, ADOT permitted this sign. ADOT looks at all signs within 500 feet of a freeway, and they note on their permit that the route is the I-17 route. This sign functioned very well from the time it was erected in 2014 until late 2024. As you can see, before the sound wall was erected, the sign was clearly visible from the freeway. Then we have a sound mitigation wall erected. This is a slide from early 2025 when my client Lamar erected a 70-foot tall crane on the site of the billboard, and the arrow points to the top of that crane. Clearly, the sign is not visible from the freeway where it was always intended to be viewed. The proposal today is, in fact, to erect a 70-foot, 672 square foot billboard on the site to allow visibility of at least a portion of the sign from the freeway. The request then is to increase the height of a billboard from 30 to 70 feet. The maximum height allowed in the ordinance, again, not along a scenic corridor, is 48 feet. For some reason, the staff report also is requesting a variance for the height, the size, sorry, from 300 feet to 672 square feet They are suggesting that in fact, a sign cannot be larger than 300 square feet. That is inaccurate. When you're within 300 feet of a freeway, the ordinance clearly states that the size for the sign is 272 square feet, the same as the height is 48 square feet. I don't know where staff is pulling this information from, and remind you that this sign is approximately 112 feet from the freeway. There are peculiar conditions that apply to this property, and that is all because of this sound mitigation wall. But for that sound mitigation wall, the sign would continue to serve its intended function, which was always to capture traffic, the views from I-17. The enforcement of the zoning ordinance and the standards of it will completely make this sign invisible if we stay with the size and the height that it is today. There is no negative impact from approval of this request. We are not suggesting that a new sign should be built in a scenic corridor. We are looking to make an existing sign functional. That is all that this request is about. It can certainly not be the intent of the zoning ordinance to have a legal, albeit non-conforming use wiped clean of its functionality because of something which is completely beyond the control of my client or the property owner, and that is the erection of an ADOT sound wall that has completely blocked this sign from view. We are not talking about a pristine stretch of I-17. There are numerous billboards within this area. Understand there are great views in this area as well, but this is a location with 6 billboards, 3 on each side of the freeway within a fairly short distance. In addition, my client will remove illumination from this board. If this is approved, the sign is illuminated today and has been since it was constructed. In conclusion, there has been a legal billboard on this site for over 10 years. Maricopa County does not require the removal of non-conforming signs. This county's intent can certainly not be to ignore the impacts of something which is beyond the control of the property owner and has completely wiped the value of this legal sign because of the removal of views of that sign. The allowance for this sign to increase in height and in size to be functional does not contravene the intent of the ordinance. And again, we are not talking about adding a new billboard to a scenic corridor. This is simply making an existing sign functional. And then I do have a video we will try to show if it will play. And this was taken earlier this week, driving south on I-17, looking towards where the billboard is located. I think this speaks for itself. There is absolutely zero view of the billboard, which was always intended and always stated to be intended to be seen from I-17. You will not see the sign until we are at the end of the wall and my client turns the camera north. With that, I'm glad to answer any questions.
Any questions of Mr. Allison by any of the board members? I do love ADOT's consideration of a sound wall in a scenic corridor. What's the height of that, Bill? Do you know?
It's got to be 10 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have not gone out and measured it, but it's a tall one.
And it essentially the 10 feet off the outside lane, making it extremely expensive to expand the freeway in that area, but I digress.
Right. And as you know, with that wall, you're not having any scenic views either. Right.
No questions of Mr. Allison at this time by any of the board members? All right, we may have some. This is a public hearing. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Do we have anyone online, Nadia or David?
Not anyone indicating they'd wish to speak.
Okay, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Turn it over to the board for discussion and a possible motion. This is in District 4, my district. I tend to agree with Mr. Allison that the things outside of his control have rendered this billboard ineffective, and it's outside of his control. My question is the method to remedy it. I appreciate the scenic corridor, but there's enough and I don't want to negate scenic corridors because I value those. But forces outside of any of our control are taking those away from us. I mean, it wasn't just the sound wall, it's the overhead power lines and the adjacent developments, and the mountains in the distance look great, but the intervening land uses and things that are happening, taking that away. So the special use permit, that's a legislative function. It's not, so is this in some ways. Would it allow them to place that closer to the freeway? I mean, you've got a landowner who's trying to keep that on his property because it's an income stream, that could stay on the property. Could it move closer to the freeway? I don't want you to speculate too much about stuff out of your control, but go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, a couple items. It's my understanding that the special use permit for alteration of a legal non-conforming billboard allows for relocation of the billboard up to 20 feet, because a lot of times the alteration will necessitate a different capacity, different weight load. Like if they're changing from a traditional non-illuminated face to a digital face, at least that's the way it was explained to me at the time of the text amendment. So that category for alteration of an LNC board allows for relocation up to 20 feet. I don't know if they can get closer to the freeway or not. I'm not familiar enough with this specific site. I assume it's right up towards the roadway, right away. Second, a separate category of billboard would allow relocation of a sign due to highway widening project anywhere within the greater bounds of Maricopa County. And that's just a separate issue. And third, I would like to go on record. I may have created confusion and error. I don't believe so, but there are 3 billboards in this stretch that are closer than 1,000 feet. And that occurred because of interpretation that certain ones were oriented to the frontage roads and certain to the freeway, and that allowed them to be along the same roadway for all practical purposes. If that was not this billboard, but one of the proximate billboards, I apologize to the applicant, and that error will be on me. But that was the issue, and that's why they're proximate up there.
Okay.
There's legal non-conforming due to the distance proximity, as well as the location within a delineated scenic corridor.
Here's kind of what I'm inclined
and
to
Mr.
do.
Chairman, I'm
Oh, go ahead.
sorry. I also agree that based upon the new ordinance, that they do not need a variance for the sign face area.
Okay, because of the proximity. Bill, could you come up here?
Mr. Chair.
This is kind of what I'm thinking. This is me, just one of the board members. There appear to be enough options to consider that I'm thinking maybe we table this item 1 month for you to look at the special use permit options, talk to Joel, talk to Darren about what your options are with that, to see if you continue with the variance, or if the special use permit is a viable option that might gain you some additional benefits that you can't get through a variance that's worth pursuing. I believe personally that your client has suffered due to ADOT's actions, and you're due some remedy. Is it through the variance process? Is it through the special use permit process? Do you gain more with the special use permit? Do you gain more with the variance? I don't know, but it might be worth spending 30 days to view that. That's just my opinion. I'm throwing that at you. What do you think?
Mr. Chair and members, we certainly can do that. As a little background, I will say that we had discussions with management staff before we filed about whether a variance was an appropriate route to take for this. or if it should in fact go through a special use permit. We were green lighted to apply for the variance, and so we did. Certainly, if it is the board's preference that we take a month to talk further with Mr. Gerard, we will do that.
Joel, Darren, go ahead.
I will say, Mr. Chairman, board members, if the board takes action today, regardless of what that action is, or if the action was negative for the applicant, he still has that option for a couple types of special use permits. So that option's still there. That, you know, that's a different application fees, different process. But that's still a venue, even if the board did not approve a variance today, he still has that option.
Or approves it.
If the board approves, yes. The other thing that I failed to mention is the special use permit category for those type of billboards may be approved legislatively without a validity period, without an expiration date. So it's a lot of 6 of one, half dozen of another, depending on what direction he wants to take.
Okay. All right. With that said, any other board member have any comments?
Yes.
Member Clapp.
My opinion on this is that the property owner was affected by the wall and his property rights were taken away. So in my opinion, that property owner has the right to raise the sign. It's pretty clear to me that you can raise the sign or you can move the sign. But in this instance, because of the action of highway people, to me, the best action is to raise the sign. And then when I also learned that the sign would no longer be illuminated, then I thought this is even a better solution. Now you have a sign that's not illuminated. It's raised higher than the wall. It doesn't block any views. I don't see the sense of this property owner having to go through the machinations of having to go through a special use permit process when we can today just give them approval to raise the sign.
Sold.
My opinion.
If there's no other comments, I'll make a motion. I would move approval of BA 25-0006, subject to the conditions outlined in the staff report.
Second.
A second by Member Clapp. Rosalie?
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson, was that a yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hear me. Yes.
Chairman Loper,
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Congratulations. Move on to BA 25-0009, the Went project in District 4. To the correct Andrew this time. Andrew, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. BA 250009 is a request for varying the required front yard setbacks on an approximate 1 acre residential parcel located in the rural 43 zoning district in the Waddell area. The request is to amend the required front setback from 40 to 12 feet to allow for the development of a new RV garage and a garage storage uses. There's a 20-foot existing easement along the southern lot line that was erected in 2019. A 6-foot block wall has been erected between the easement and the parcel. When officially recorded, the easement shifted the front from the west to the south. The new construction proposed has been designed to be 32 feet from the property line. Ultimately, the applicant has failed to demonstrate there's any peculiar condition relating to the property. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Are there any questions of staff at this time? And note that Vice Chairperson has entered the Witness Protection Program.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that looks really cool. I'm gonna go turn on a light so you guys can see me.
It's okay. I'm just making a joke. All right, no questions of staff at this time. Go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant representative in attendance and wish to speak on this item? Or are they online?
I'm not seeing anybody online with their hands raised.
Var Lopez? Am I saying that correctly? Is that how would say that? Probably not. My wife would know, but she's not here. Going once, going twice. The applicant for BA 250009 with Professional CAD Design LLC. Are you in attendance in person or online? Mr. or Ms. Lopez? All right, seeing none, I would entertain, this was in District 4. I will move that this item be continued to the next hearing.
Second.
We have a motion for continuance by me and a
Mr. Chairman,
second. Oh, yeah.
I apologize for interrupting. Andrew just advised me that this was continued from last month. Is that correct?
Oh,
For the very same reason, failure to show.
they didn't show. Okay. Did any luck?
I confirmed with them that they were going to appear.
Okay, but they haven't. Could you pull up the site plan again, Andrew? I apologize. So we have 12 feet on the front, which is the south setback, 40 feet is required. It's an existing dwelling, correct? And a fourth driveway.
Mr. Chairman, the dwelling does exist today, but there were plans to expand the dwelling, which is the reason for the variance today.
Do you have that site plan where the expansion's proposed? I apologize.
On page 2, do we have there?
And the new driveway?
I believe this is, apparently these are the only slides we have. On page 2 of your staff report packet, there is a 2 and 3, there's the site plan.
In an effort to be conscientious of the environment, I didn't print it.
Okay, I'll bring it to you.
That's okay. Thank you, Darren. So the fourth driveway is the, okay, the 1, 2, 3, okay. And then the expansion is this little area down in here. Oh, they've added to that quite a bit over the years. But it doesn't look like the overall impact is any more significant than what it's got today. In the Waddell area, 176th Avenue. All right, so we need to take action on this, correct?
Yes.
I would move for approval of BA 250009.
Second.
Have a second by Vice Chairperson.
Mr.
Rosen.
Chairman, I'm sorry to keep interrupting.
Yeah.
We need to ask if there's anyone that wishes to speak, even though the applicant's not here.
That's right, I hadn't closed the public hearing. Thank you, Darren. Is there anyone who wishes to speak on this item? No one in attendance. Do we have anyone online?
No one online.
No one online. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Restate my motion for approval of BA 250009. Member Person, did you want to redoes her second? Thank you. A motion by me and a second by Member Person. Rosalie?
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Please express that to them. Move on, agenda item number 7, the Maori project property, BA 250010 in District 5. Daniel?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Case BA 250010 is for the Maori property in Supervisor District 5. The site is located at 11652 South 38th Avenue in the Levine area. It is zoned RU43 and is just under an acre at 43,144 square feet. The request is to permit a lot area of 43,144 square feet, where 43,560 square feet is the minimum permitted per Maricopa County Zoning Ordinance Article 503.5.1. The parcel was created via an unregulated lot split in 2006 at its current size and configuration. Due to its substandard area and noncompliance with the Rural 43 zoning, the parcel will not receive zoning clearance at the time of building permit submittal. The parcel size may be corrected by acquiring additional area from an adjacent parcel. However, the applicant has not discussed acquiring additional land with adjacent property owners. An unregulated lot split that did not account for the minimum area required for the Rural 43 zoning district is not considered a peculiar condition and considered a self-created condition despite the current owner acquiring the property in its substandard creation. If the board finds that the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Variance approval establishes a lot area of 43,144 square feet for APN 3000914W. At this time, I'll be happy to answer questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Good overview of the property. Are there any questions of staff at this time? Seeing none, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is Greg Mowry in attendance? Come up and provide your name, please, for the record. And I think she's going to raise that podium for you.
I think it looks good.
Or can you?
My name is Greg Mowry. I think in 2006, we purchased this property with the possibility of building there. Later, which we decided not to and just keep it as an investment. And since my recent retirement, we were looking to sell this property, and that at that time we discovered that, thank you, that we were unable to sell it with the possibility of someone building a house on there. So we pursued a variance to see if we could have an allowance for building a house. We're 565 square feet short of an acre. There's a property just to the south of us that has a house, nothing to the north, east, or west, and it's kind of spotted as far as number of homes that are there. So we're, I believe, the smallest lot in this little community.
Have you made any efforts to reach out to those adjacent property owners and see if they could sell you a sliver of property to increase the size of your property without making theirs substandard?
We have not.
Is that anything you'd be willing to do? I mean, it's kind of a weird request, but it would make yours standard size. I'm no surveyor, but you know, as you said, it's not a significant amount. It's not even 500. It's
297 square feet if we round up to the next whole foot on dimension.
yeah. Yeah, so not quite 300 square feet.
So when we purchased it, we were unaware of this restriction, and paperwork says it's 1 acre,
right,
rounded up. So obviously we didn't consider that or think of that. So we're trying to sell this with the minimal amount of money that we need to put into this. So we thought this seemed to probably the best approach to see if we could get an allowance for building a house.
Yeah, 300 square feet certainly will be more today than it was 9 years ago, unfortunately. Daniel or Darren or anybody, the chain of title, do we know, I mean, we don't regulate lot splits, So,
I would note, Mr. Chairman, this is similar to one we had recently where the dimensions are very specific, carried out 2 decimal points. The other lots are plus or minus 1.05, plus or minus 1.04, plus or minus 1.04, and this is plus or minus 1.00. The fact that there's the decimal point in those 2 positions after the decimal point lead me to believe that it's a really poor job by the surveyor, if not misrepresenting.
yeah, and I truthfully, after 9 years, I don't know if you'd have any recourse against the surveyor. I would encourage you to contact that surveyor. I don't know if you could do anything or not, but you bought in good faith. That's not your fault. There is a Arizona Board of Technical Registration who grants licenses to surveyors. You could contact them and tell them of the dilemma. But it's not your fault, and I don't think you should be penalized because of it. Anyway, I'll let you know if we have any other questions. I got to see if anybody else wants to speak on the item, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
As I mentioned, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Do we have anyone online, Nadia or David?
No one online indicating they'd like to speak.
What's that?
No one online.
Okay. No one online. I'll go ahead and close the public hearing. This is in District 5, but I tend to think that this is no fault of Mr. Mowry, and maybe he has recourse with the surveyor, but that could take some time. And meanwhile, he shouldn't have to wait to do that. And I support the variance personally, but again, this is in District 5. So who's our district?
Chairman Loper, Mr. Chairman, I agree with you wholeheartedly. And I move to approve BA 250010 and have memorialized the lot area of 43144 as an allowable sellable area.
Thank you, Ms. Ward. We have a motion from Ms. Ward. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oop, she just beat you, Heather. We have a second by Member Clapp. Rosalie?
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Best of luck to you. Sorry that this happened to you. Good luck. Next item on the agenda, BA 250011, the Kennedy property in District 4. Daniel?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Case BA 250011 is for the Kennedy property in Supervisor District 4. The site is located at 47709 North 43rd Avenue in the New River area. It is zoned for RU43 and is approximately 2 acres. The request proposes a reduced street side setback of 8 feet, where 20 feet is the minimum permitted per Zoning Ordinance Article 503.4.1.c. The reduced setback is for a new RV garage to replace the unpermitted garage originally placed in its current setback configuration around the year 2020. No violation was reported for this unpermitted placement. If the structure had been properly permitted, the 20-foot street side setback would be advised. The street side setback of 20 feet is required for any right-of-way, including patent easements. Although the property owner was granted a patent easement abandonment for the northern portion of the subject property, the other half of the patent easement remains on the adjacent parcel to the north under separate ownership. This remaining patent easement, considered a street, renders the subject parcel a corner lot with a street side setback requirement. After reviewing the submission, staff is unable to identify a peculiar condition of the property that warrants variance. The site is already developed with a single-family residence, and there are other areas within the parcel where a detached accessory structure may be located without a variance, including as close as 3 feet from the southern property line within the interior 30-foot side setback of the principal building envelope. And further, if the board finds the applicant has satisfied the statutory test and has stated in its findings on the record, the grant of this variance will memorialize the following. Variance approval establishes an 8-foot north street side setback for APN 202-12041A. At this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Daniel. Good overview. One question. It's an existing structure they're seeking the variance for.
It will be a new RV structure to replace the unpermitted structure.
They're demoing the existing one. They didn't lose it to fire or anything.
No.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there other questions of Daniel at this time by any of the board members? All right, seeing none, thanks again. I'll get back to you if we have any questions. Go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant representative in attendance? They're online? Okay. If you could, go ahead and provide your name and go ahead with your presentation.
Sure. My name is Christopher Pila. I am representing the Kennedys in this variance. Okay, great. So you can skip to the next slide there. Of course, Daniel did a great job laying this all out for us. We're requesting a variance to encroach what is considered a corner lot street side setback by just under 8 feet. And we have abandoned the patent easement that the Kennedys have control over. That is the patent easement on their property, which leaves a neighboring patent easement that we do not have control over, of course, but it seems to render this the zoning intent of this being corner lot doesn't seem to quite fit the bill here without that patent easement running across our property. If you go to the next page, we just bulleted the main points that we see here as a rationale for a variance. Is it doesn't function as a true corner lot. It's not an actual road, and the easement has been partially abandoned. So it functions as an interior lot and has functioned that way before the Kennedy's ownership of the property. It's not self-created, so it's a hardship. It's not self-imposed, as it predates the ownership. It doesn't negatively impact anything that we can see here, traffic, safety, or neighbors, or otherwise. And it seems to support zoning intent. It's allowing fair use without violating ordinance goals. So yeah, that's what we have for you all. I hope that's clear, and excited to hear what you have to say on this.
All right, thank you. And Daniel, to confirm what he said, if the patent easement were fully abandoned, you have no need for the variance?
Correct.
That's correct, okay. Are there any questions of the applicant by any of the board members? All right, seeing none, thank you. We may have more, so please stay online. Do we have anyone else who wants to speak on this item? This is a public hearing. I don't see anyone in the audience. Do you have anyone online?
No one else online.
No one else? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. This is in District 4, which is my district, but I would appreciate any assistance by any other board member. Do any board members have anything they'd like to discuss on this item or would like to entertain or make a motion on it?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve item BA 250011 in District 4.
Thank you very much. We have a motion for approval by Member Ward. Do we have a second? I'll second it. We have a motion for approval by Member Ward and a second by me. Rosalie, when you get an opportunity.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper,
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Congratulations to the applicant. Move on to the next item on the agenda, which is BA 250013, the Williams Garage Enclosure in District 4. Getting hit hard today. Turn this one over to Andrew again.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. Case BA 250013 is a variance request to reduce the required front yard setback from 20 feet to 18 feet of a home in the R16 zoning designation in the Sun City area. The applicant is requesting the spacing amendment to accommodate a garage renovation, which will better accommodate modern contemporary vehicles. Currently, the home is built at the 20-foot mark, the setback mark, which it has existed at since it was built in approximately 1960. Staff is unable to identify any peculiar conditions relating to the request. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Any questions of staff at this time? All right, seeing none. Thank you again, Andrew. We may have some. Go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant's representative in attendance and wishing to speak on this item? I don't see anybody in attendance in the audience. Do we have anyone online?
Chairman, we do. Alexandra Berry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, members and board, for hearing us today. My name is Alexandra Berry. I am with Chambers Corporation General Contractors, and our client, Mr. Williams, is seeking to enclose his carport, but in order to accommodate his truck, we would need to be seeking a variance to expand out 2 feet at the front, and this would remain within the original footprint of the home as we are staying under the roof eave. The one thing we did want to add, basically to the background of the thing was we had, as the background states, on January 30th, we had submitted for the carport renovation, and by the direction of the Maricopa County Permit and Development Office, they said that we should file for the variance on March 11th, and that we did. And actually 10 days later, on March 22nd, 2025, our client, Mr. Williams, did in fact have his truck broken into as it was parked in the carport that it is open. And just to add a note that this is in District 4, Sun City Phase 1. It is just south of Grand Ave and just east of 111th Ave. So I just wanted to add a note that it is in close proximity to other non-age restricted cities such as Youngtown. And I myself lived in Youngtown for several years, and there was a high crime rate, and I, in fact, had an open carport myself, and there were several mornings I would go outside to my carport and find people, males and stuff, on drugs and things. So I can attest that there is a high crime rate in the area, and so we wanted to just mention those notes and hope that the board would take those into consideration to approve this variance, so that we can expand that garage out 2 feet to fully enclose it, and that our client may fully park his truck in there. And that is it for now. If anybody has any questions or anything further, I'm still here and available.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right, well, we'll hang on, stay online. We may have some. Do we have anybody who wants to speak on this item in attendance? Seeing none, do we have anyone online? Anyone else? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and close the public hearing. This is in District 4. I move for approval of BA 250013. This does not increase the footprint. It's enclosing the existing garage. Also, I noted a weird cant to the home that's kind of a weird hardship. So with that, again, I move for approval of BA 250013.
Second.
Second by Member Clapp.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion for an approval by a vote of 4-0.
Best of luck to you, and sorry your truck got broken into. I prefer 40 caliber myself. I think I can say that. Move on. Next item on the agenda, BA 250016 in District 1. Andrew, this is yours also.
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. BA 250016 is a request for varying the required street side yard setback for an approximate 1 acre residential parcel located in the rural 43 zoning district in the Queen Creek area. The request is to amend the required street side yard setback from 20 feet to 3 feet to allow for the development of a pool. The subject parcel was created in approximately 2022 via an unregulated lot split. Due to the existence of 196th Street being a midsection line, an additional right-of-way reservation is required to facilitate future roadway expansion. McDOT has reduced the required right-of-way reservation to 25 feet from the center line. The applicant is requesting to place the pool 3 feet from the right-of-way line. Ultimately, the applicant has failed to demonstrate there's any peculiar condition relating to the property that was not directly created in line of title. At this time, I would be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Andrew. Great overview. Are there any questions of staff at this time? All right, seeing none, I'll open the public hearing. Is the applicant Chad Casey? All right, come on up, provide your name for the record and give us your presentation.
Yeah, I'm Chad Casey. I did have a question, Andrew. What was the last thing that you stated? As far as I didn't provide the peculiar, I didn't understand what that meant. I'm sorry.
That it was not created within the line of title, meaning the dimensions of the property were created via lot splits and lines of title.
So, Mr. Chairman, if I could, real quickly for the gentleman's benefit, statutory requirements to grant a variance to county zoning law is that there be a peculiar condition facing the property that's not common in the universe of your zoning district, that creates a undue physical hardship, not created in the line of title, meaning everybody that owns this property before you, not created in the line of title, that when a zoning ordinance regulation is applied to that property, prevents reasonable development of the property. That statutory test is actually pretty difficult. The Board of Adjustment is going to see if they think there's any external factors that warrant the relief.
Perfect. I appreciate the explanation. So my family purchased this home 1 year ago, and when we purchased it from a builder who had bought the 5 acre lot and subdivided it, and then built 5 different homes on this new private street. We were not aware, and it was not disclosed by neither the builder, the survey report, the title report, or any other information that there was a future right-of-way in place on 196th Street behind our home, which would be the west side. So we started the pool project thinking that we would have plenty of space there. It showed a 15-foot setback, ingress, egress. We went 23 feet and started the process, applied for the permit, and come to find out that we were told we couldn't build anything within 60 feet of the property line, that my house sits 61 feet from the property line. And so that created a big confusion as to what that was all about. And as I've discovered and gone through all this information, I've talked with McDOT, and they've since reduced their 40-foot requirement down to 25 feet. I was given information that the most I could request from the board here would be 3 feet. I didn't know I could request 0. And so just that being in mind, what we would like to do is just build a pool behind our home where our young kids could enjoy it and we could see them from inside of the home if we're not directly outside at that point. And there's no other area on our home where we would be able to view the children in the pool from the side yard on either side. It would not be a situation that we would feel comfortable with. And that's why we're requesting the variance today.
Thank you. Anything else to add?
I think that's it for now.
Okay. Are there any questions of the applicant? All right. We may have others, so hold tight.
Thank you.
Do you have an aerial of this in the slides? And so the pool is on which side? The west? Left-hand side? Okay. If you would mind keeping that up. Okay, I see from the pool permit plan. And 196th is that a collector then to be?
Mr. Chairman, it's a midsection alignment, which normally is a collector, but based upon McDOT waiving partially down to 25-foot half width. Yeah, it sounds like a local street.
Okay. And then on the, I call it the UPD table, but it's the development table. I noted that the lot's undersized. That's not part of the request. We don't need to address that as part of this.
I'm actually familiar with this because I remember doing the calculations. It's listed at a certain size, but the gross area of the lot includes both of the north-south streets and the 40-foot highway easement of Santan Boulevard.
Santan Boulevard, correct.
So it's rather encumbered building envelope based upon the fact that there's triple frontage. The gross area of the lot meets the minimum lot area and minimum lot width because by definition, it's included in the gross area.
So lucky you, you've got streets that are included in your lot area that you pay taxes on, and but you don't get to use it for your setbacks. It counts against you.
I've had a lot of conversations with the builder because they weren't upfront about a lot of information.
Yeah.
So,
I only can imagine. All right, this is a public hearing. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to speak on this item? Come on up and provide your name for the record, please.
Hello, Mr. Lopez.
Duran?
Yeah, how are you?
I
You can't see me either.
I can't see
I got
anything.
such an ugly
really.
mug. I didn't figure you'd miss me.
I recognize the voice though.
The project.
You're not the builder though, right?
No, thank heavens. We also built a home just to the north of this property.
How funny.
And my concern as an engineer was always from the beginning that the right-of-way, future right-of-way would be invoked, in which case we have non-conforming lots through that whole subdivision. So I was told by Nexstar that the 15 feet was all MCDOT would need. I approached MCDOT and actually made a few phone calls because, as you can imagine, I know some people down there. And I was basically told that the 40 feet would be revoked and that's just an alleyway behind us. And since it's being used as drainage anyway, I kind of bought into that idea. When I approached the contractor, he said, mind your own business. We got this taken care of, as you can well imagine. And basically, if that were to go to right-of-way, that right-of-way would go through my back or through my kitchen. So there's a real issue, and in defense of what my neighbor's trying to do, because I got to do something too. Obviously, I need to develop my lot. It's just all dirt right now, waiting for these type of things. And I don't want to mess up what he's got going, thinking that perhaps Darren and some others have figured this out in a way that's a little more quiet than the mess that I might make if I say too much. I don't want to say much more than that, but I am concerned that these lots will all be non-compliant if we don't get some relief from MCDOT to the 15 feet that's clearly on the plat, that's clearly on the grading and drainage and site plans that have been approved through the county, and it was the intent all the way through that our lots are sideways facing lots, so the rear setbacks and the side setbacks have been reversed, and that right away through 196 will never be developed. In addition to that, it can't be developed on either side, and there are structures as you move towards the north that keep it from being developed. So you have drainage that keeps it from being developed. You have the fact that those are 1 acre lots that have been platted legally, as well as the homes being located on there as conforming lots that would affect the decision that you make today. I suggest if he was going for a setback that he just use the 0 anyway, because that's where the wall has been built. And quite frankly, that would be the best solution for him. I've said enough. Thank you. Hi, Darren. How you doing?
Thanks, Duran. And full disclosure, I've known Duran for 25 plus years and work with him to this day on numerous things. So good to see you. Please call Frank so he'll stop calling me. And
I've tried, to be honest with you. We have that subdivision submitted as of yesterday, so we're in good shape.
Thank you very much, Duran.
You're welcome.
Darren, back to Casey or Chad, I'm sorry, and Darren and Andrew. Do we need this to be at 0 or is 3 feet work?
3 feet works for the pool equipment.
Okay,
that's
3
what-
feet work.
Actually, if I can address that. So the pool, we dug the pool at 23 feet. And so with MCDOT's requirement of 25, I'll have to move the pool forward, and I will work with MCDOT to see if there's anything that they can do. But if we could go to 0, that would, I'm going to apply again for 0 and meet you guys here in a month. But if there's something we can do today, I would really greatly appreciate it.
It's been advertised at 3 though, right?
Yes, yes.
So I don't think we could take action for less than 3, correct? I'm looking at our legal counsel. Can't see you really, but you know.
No number on the sign, but there's no number on our public notice sign, but our posted agenda was at 3 feet.
So can we take action for 0 or?
I believe the public note that includes our posted agenda. You could continue it for a month and take action 0.
So you're saying you'd probably have to come back in a month anyway?
I'm saying if that's what I need to do, I'm planning to do that. So
I'm wondering if we should continue this then so it could be reposted then or re-advertised at 0 feet?
It's just the posting of our agenda.
Just the posting of the agenda. Because I'd rather do this once correctly.
I agree, 100%.
I mean, I support, sounds like no fault of yours. And yeah, it sounds like between you and Duran and other neighbors in the area, it's probably a bigger thing to be tackled. But I would move that we continue this till next month's agenda, BA 250016 in District 1. Sorry, I probably jumped over somebody's item, but
Second.
got
I
a
would
second
second
by
that.
member Clapp. I know you need to leave. Have a motion and a second by member Clapp.
Member Clapp,
Yes.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson,
Yes.
Chairman Loper.
Yes.
Chairman, that's a motion for continuance by a vote of 4-0.
Last time on our agenda is TU 250010, the Ramirez property in District 5, Ferns Ward, for temporary use permit for temporary housing. Joe?
Thank you, Chairman and members of the board. TU 250010, the Ramirez property. This is a request to allow temporary housing in a camper trailer on an approximately 2-acre parcel on 234th Avenue, south of Beloit Road in the Buckeye area. The request is for a 2-year period. The site is within the Rural 43 zoning district and has an approved and issued building permit for a manufactured home. Staff notes that the site has a subject code violation for multiple occupied RVs and an unpermitted structure. The violation case was initially opened in 2023. The case has gone before a hearing officer and the property owner was found responsible for the violation. A staff inspection of the site on February 21st, 2025 found that there were still multiple occupied RVs on site in addition to an unpermitted structure with a TV dish attached to it. Staff notes that the site plan submitted shows a permanent sewer line running from the RV or camper trailer to the septic system. In addition, the site is encumbered by floodplain. As such, the Flood Control District of Maricopa County had objections to the request. The district noted that floodplain regulations dictate the RV or camper trailer may only be on site for a maximum of 180 days, and it must at all times be highway ready. Staff are concerned that occupation of the camper trailer may extend beyond the parameters of the temporary use permit, as there have already been occupied RVs on site for several years. The wastewater connection to the septic tank indicates long-term usage, and 2 years seems to be an excessive time frame for placement of a manufactured home. Staff also highlights the objection from the Flood Control District of Maricopa County, As such, if the board finds the requested TUP to be warranted, staff recommends the allowed time frame be only for 180 days to match district requirements. Staff recommends denial of the requested temporary use permit. However, if the board finds the request favorable, staff offers conditions A through G for board consideration, as noted in paragraph 16 of the staff report. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Joe. So you're saying that staff would support at 180 days, but not at the 2 years?
Chairman, members of the board, staff is not supportive of the request as a whole.
Okay.
Per the flood control district comments, it would not be able to be approved for the requested 2-year period. It would have to be limited to the 180 days if the board finds it to be approved.
So we can't approve it for more than 180 anyway?
Chairman Loper, you're correct.
Okay. Thank you very much. Are there any questions of Joe at this time? All right, I'll go ahead and open the public hearing. Is the applicant or applicant representative in attendance? If you could just provide your name for the record and go ahead with your presentation.
Yeah, so my name is Jeanette Ramirez. I own the property located at 9486 South 234th Avenue in Buckeye, Arizona. The reason why I would like the temporary use permit for longer than 180 days is because I would just like to be in compliance. I understand that there is a violation that for the RVs that are located on my property. I do understand that the hearing that I had last year back in June of 2024, I had until June of 2025 to be in compliance, and I am not able to be in compliance if the permit is only for 180 days. So I understand that there is also a septic line connected to the RVs, and that is due to a previous violation that we had with the septic. So the septic is now installed and the RVs are connected to that so that we are in compliance with that violation. The RVs are still located on the property and they are currently being used. We are living in those while our manufactured home is in the process of being installed on our property. So I would like to have the temporary use permit to be issued for longer than 180 days, ideally 2 years. Just because the permit process, even for the building permit, we just got it issued back in February, and it took us a long time to even get to that point. So it would be much appreciated.
Thank you. Anything else to add at this time?
Not at this time.
Okay. Are there any questions of the applicant from any of the board members?
I have a question, please.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for your explanation, but can you please explain why it would take 2 years to get a manufactured home situated on available property that already seems to have some of the what's needed?
So the manufactured home is going to be installed not exactly where the RVs are going to be located, but just south of that property. And the reason why is because I'm currently in the process of trying to get the manufactured home. And even then, you know, we're still working with the contractor. And I personally, I just don't think 180 days is feasible for the time that, you know, that the home is already built and then it's ready to be installed. I just don't think it's feasible personally.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Any other questions of the applicant at this time? All right, seeing none, if we may have more questions, so stay close. Questions in for the applicant. You heard staff say that we can't by ordinance exceed 180 days. But a question back to you, Joe. Can they reapply if they are approved? Can they reapply for 180 days?
Chairman Loper, a couple things to that. They are allowed a request for one additional timeframe extension with the temporary use permit. In regards to the flood control district guidelines, the language they use is 180 consecutive days. So you could interpretate that if the RV was removed for some time, it could potentially come back, but that may be just complicating matters.
Okay, and then,
I have another question, Mr.
yes, Member
Chairperson.
Ward, go ahead.
I'm looking at just item 10. It says that the request is to allow the RV for up to 2 years, and it gives the impression that the manufactured home is you're just waiting for it to be put on site. Am I hearing that you have not even ordered it yet?
I am still in the process of ordering it.
Where are you in that process? Have you made decisions? Have you put any down payments? Are you still, where are you?
So I am working with the manufactured home company, and at this point, we currently had a contractor come out to kind of investigate and see what the final price would be for the manufactured home included with delivery. So we are still in that process, and we are still trying to get that figured out as of now.
I would like to hear what others think, but my concern is that you have been out of compliance, as I read it, I believe already for a year. And it doesn't sound like we've made any headway. Am I missing something?
No, you're good. I do want to mention as well that I do have a floodplain permit as well. So I don't understand why there would be an issue if it's only able to be 180 days. I get that if, it's not able to be longer than 180 days. I totally get that, but I figured I do want to mention I do have a floodplain permit for that as well. And this whole time, we've had not just this violation, but also the septic one. So it's been one thing after the other. We finally got the septic installed. They're connected to the RV so that we aren't in violation for the septic, not having one. And we got that installed back in November of 2024. And now we got the building permit issued in February of 2025. And when I was working with my engineer, they did mention that that the county recommends that we get a temporary use permit due to the violation. And that's really just what I'm trying to do. I just want to be in compliance at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Ward. Any other questions of the applicant? I do have kind of two follow-up questions, I think mostly for Joe and or Darren. One, does 180 days, if we take a positive action today, does 180 days start today? Or is it started some other time?
Mr. Chairman, Joe can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is 180 days is a floodplain issue.
Oh, floodplain use permit?
Right.
Oh, okay.
And so this temporary use permit, if you decide that a longer period is acceptable, the applicant needs to understand that there's still the floodplain issues and they may have a different requirement.
Okay.
Also, we should go on the record as saying the reason for the temporary use permit is to allow temporary occupancy in the RV while she's building the permanent home, either placement of a manufactured home or a site-built home. There is no zoning entitlement. There's no way to get approval to reside in an RV in the county absent that, unless she's in a mobile home park or an RV park. RVs can be stored on a property. They may not be occupied, and that's the reason they need an occupied permit here. Temporary use permit to occupy the RV. The zoning violation, my understanding, is for multiple occupied RVs, and that's been in place and been verified since November 2023.
So if you're going to use a manufactured home, you would need to have applied for a manufactured home permit. Does the county do the manufactured home in permit inspections, or do you have the delegation agreement from the state, or does the state do it?
Mr. Chairman, to get the temporary use permit for temporary occupancy in an RV or any other means requires an issued permit for the single family residence, which can be a mobile home or a site built home, manufactured home. And I believe they have that. It was issued February of 2025. And so the inspections, the safety inspections are done through the state.
We do the drainage. We do the final drainage.
But we do a final drainage inspection prior to any final of the safety structure. So
How long, so she's got the issued permit, which would allow one RV to be used for temporary housing while that permit's valid. How long is that permit valid?
That permit is valid for 6 months, during which time they must pass a construction safety inspection.
Okay.
And then it's valid for another 6 months until they,
Okay.
pass another inspection.
I have heard anecdotally that manufactured housing is, from the time it's ordered, there are delays, like there's delays in everything. So
I will say we do appreciate, we're assuming that the manufactured home is not sitting down on the property now waiting, for the permit. So I understand there can be a complication. We are not going to argue over the length of the TUP. You can approve it for up to 2 years.
Okay.
But the applicant needs to understand that they still need to comply with floodplain requirements, and that may trigger a maximum 180 consecutive days on site.
You understand that the floodplain use permit may have some time limits that are outside of planning's ability or our ability to modify or address.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
And I'm sorry, I'll let Joseph clarify that flood control has commented negatively on the case.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
Chairman, members of the board, just to clarify, the flood control district did provide a negative comment to staff objecting to the 2-year time frame, and they clarified in their comment that 180 days would be the max that they could potentially be comfortable with.
Okay.
And Chairman, if I can, I just want to clarify one more thing. I know the property owner mentioned multiple RVs. The temporary use permit may only extend to a single RV unit, so the other units will still have to be removed.
Okay. All right. So it would seem that the floodplain use permit is for 180 days. We can do anywhere from 180 up to 2 years, but I wouldn't want us to be in violation of what a different department. That tends to be confusing. Is a floodplain use permit effective right now, right? Or does it kick off when ours kicks off?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know that.
Yeah.
And I apologize that we do not have an illustration showing the floodplain on this lot.
That's okay. It's its own process, but I don't want to, it could be confusing if I'm you and I've got this permit in one department and another one in another department. It can be confusing when one expires and one doesn't. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing and turn it over to the board for discussion and or a motion. I will say that I personally am in favor of the temporary use permit. I would like to see it coincide with the floodplain use permit, so they kind of align with each other. There is options she can come back, or that you could come back for additional time. That kind of motivates to get things to try to move quicker. She could be more in the process in the ordering of the manufactured home. We may know more, but I just throw that out there. Fern, this is your district.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I would like to move to approve item number 6, going along with recommendations number 16A through G. So that way, I feel the applicant will have plenty of time on our end, and whatever any issues she runs into will probably be with flood control, and she can address those issues with them.
We have a motion for approval by member Ward. Did you add a timeline, or does the condition have that in?
It is in the conditions.
Okay. We have a motion for approval by member Ward. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Vice Chair Person. Rosalie, when you get an opportunity.
Member Ward,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson. Vice Chairperson.
Yeah.
I saw her mouth, yes.
Chairman Lippert.
Yes.
Chairman, we have a motion.
Yeah, I keep unmuting saying yes. Maybe you can't hear.
We have a motion approval by a vote of 3-0.
Thank you, and thank you, everyone. This is our last time on the agenda. Again, thank you to the Maricopa County Sheriff's Department for keeping watch over us. Appreciate you guys. Sorry we dragged this out. Have a great day, guys. Be safe.
Mr.
Yes,
Chairman,
Darren.
Before you close, we need to go back and approve the minutes of March 13th, 2025.
Does anybody have any comments or changes on the minutes? Seeing none, the minutes are considered approved, and we are done.